So we have reached the end of the NBA season. MLB season continues to roll on through the month of April. And the Red Wings playoff hopes come down to the last 2 games of the season after a mixed bag week. And for anyone wondering, yes, I do indeed have a Red Wings jersey on. It's actually a new jersey I just got in the mail today, just in time for my birthday. So yeah, if anyone's wondering, no, this is not an Anthony Mantha jersey. It's a Dominic Hasek jersey. See, I got the Hasek jersey on to get it worn in. So yeah, because the Wings play tonight against the Canadiens, as the Wings playoff hopes come down to the final 2 games, the last week of the season. Last couple days. But yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and let's talk about how Detroit sports fared this week.
Detroit basketball!
Well, for the Pistons, the one thing I think we can say is thank fucking God this season is over. Hell, it didn't even matter if they ended the year losing to Chicago and then losing the Sunday to San Antonio. It didn't fucking matter. To be honest, I don't think anybody gave a fuck about losing the loss to San Antonio. I think Piston fans are just happy this season is finally fucking over with. So that we don't have to deal with this nightmare anymore. So yeah, the Pistons season is over. There's no word yet about what happens with Monty Williams and Troy Weaver. I imagine their fates will probably be decided later in the week. So for both of them, that's more so a time will tell type deal. But yeah, honestly, I'll say is if they keep fucking Troy Weaver around, then fucking Tom Gores is a fucking incompetent owner and needs to sell their team. If they keep Weaver around, it shows that the Pistons don't care about being competitive. But yeah, the season's over, and the Pistons end the season 14-68. You know what the fucking funny part about that record is? The Pistons had the same number of wins as the Lions this year. And the Pistons played like 62 more games. But yeah, this painful season is finally over as the NBA regular season has come to a close as now the NBA playoffs begin. Honestly, thank fucking God. There are going to be some questions coming up in the offseason, especially about Cade Cunningham's situation. Since Cade Cunningham's contract, I believe, is up at the end of next season, so... Question is, will Cade Cunningham want to sign an extension to stay here? Or will Cade Cunningham take his talents elsewhere? Honestly, if they don't put a team around him, I could see option B happening. Honestly, it will be painful if Cade Cunningham leaves because the Pistons couldn't put a good enough team around him. Be disappointing. But yeah, and think of this. All the losing this year and the fact that they had the Pistons have the same number of wins as the Lions this year, all of that will most likely be only enough to get the 5th overall pick again. God help us all. Or maybe the NBA just might give the Pistons the 1st overall pick this year because this draft doesn't have a consensus 1st overall pick this year. And they would possibly give it to the Pistons in a year with no top number 1 pick. In the hopes that the Pistons fuck the pick up. That's going to be the luck with this because there's no clear-cut number 1 pick in the draft this year. That's just going to be the luck with this. Now to the Tigers. As the hot seas start, the Tigers after the season kind of cooled off. As for this week, they didn't really lose any series. That's the good news. They didn't lose the series to Pittsburgh and Minnesota this week. The bad news... they didn't win them either. They split both series against Pittsburgh and the 2-game series against Pittsburgh and the 4-game series against Minnesota. Even in the 4-game series against Minnesota, Javier Baez finally got a home run this season that's quieted down all the booing from Tiger fans, which, to be honest, the booing's justified since Javier Baez has literally been one of the worst free agent signings for the Tigers in recent memory. As the Tigers still stay above 500 now at 9-6. As they're now third, which is enough to get them 3rd in the Central AL Central behind Cleveland and Kansas City. As actually, shockingly, the Tigers are still ahead of the Twins. But if the Twins get their shit together by the second half of the season, then the Tigers are most likely contending with Minnesota for the AL Central. As it's tough to say what happens with Cleveland and Kansas City if their momentum continues on or not. Because baseball is a long-ass season, so unpredictable. Like, anybody can get hot or cold at any given point in the season. Like, it's very hard to say. But yeah, Tigers still heading in strong there in 3rd in the AL Central. But looks like it may not be as easy of a cakewalk currently as everyone thought it was, since Cleveland and Kansas City got off to pretty strong starts. Damn. And now we get to the Red Wings, as this week was fucking frustrating. As once again, they're like I've said before, Wings aren't on light switch, either on or off. In the end, this week they started off as they had a they played a solid game against the Capitals, but fell short. And that was a very crucial game, since the Capitals are one of the teams that Red Wings are chasing in the Eastern Conference wildcard race. And then you had the game against Pittsburgh. And then before the Pittsburgh game, that's when Derek Lalonde decided to finally preach urgency for the playoff race. Oh, now you want to preach urgency for the playoffs. Where the fuck was this shit a month ago? Because a month ago, you were in the media talking about, oh, well, no one thought we would make the playoffs at the start of the year. When literally at the end of February, you had a 72% chance of making the playoffs, and we're 10 points to the good on a wild card spot. Now you want to preach that shit. Where was this shit a month ago during the 7-game losing streak? Get the fuck out of here. Lalonde needs to be fucking fired. Like I said here, if the Wings miss the playoffs, Derek Lalonde needs to go. Needs to pack his bags, because this is the second year in a row he collapses, and by the time he shows any shred of urgency, it's already too late. Like, fuck off. Jesus Christ. Hey, yeah, but then the game against Pittsburgh, it was a high-scoring game that saw Lucas Raymond get a hat trick, as Raymond continues his career breakout season. In the end, that hat trick would not mean anything, as the Wings would lose to the Penguins in overtime. And now was the bad news is they lost to Pittsburgh, and that's another team in the Eastern Conference wildcard race. They did get a point out of that game with an overtime loss, which keeps them alive. But then in a must-win game Saturday against Toronto, the Wings did something very rare. Well, they played up to their potential to start the game until the Leafs decided to get their head out of their ass and actually live up to their potential and come back. And part of that comeback also included Austin Matthews getting his 69th goal of the season. Not nice, because the 69th came against Detroit. The good news is we did not let Matthews get the 70. Thank fucking God. Matthews can go get 70 in another fucking game. Fuck out of here. But the Wings were able to finish the job in overtime on a power play with Larkin getting the big game winner. And that game winner keeps the Wings alive in the playoff race. Like in a must-win game against Toronto, Detroit was able to find a way to win the game against the Leafs. And honestly, it don't matter how close it was. Anytime you beat Toronto and beat that inbred fan base, it's always a good day. So yeah, hey, even when the Wings are down, at least we always got Toronto to bounce back against. So yeah, that's always good. And also with the Wings beating the Leafs, we also prevent the Leafs from getting home ice advantage in the playoffs, as the Leafs are guaranteed now to finish third in the Atlantic. So yeah, and the Wings most likely just handed Toronto a first-round playoff exit. Because, oh yeah, Leaf fans, you get one of two choices for your death. Either A, you get your daddies in Boston again, or B, you get Florida again. And oh, Leaf fans, you're going to get teased a lot if you face Florida in the first round again. And all I say to teasing is, hey, you dipshits did it to yourself when you want to do that. We want Florida shit again last year. By the way, Leaf fans, you still want Florida? Because you're going to get Florida in the first round all right this year. You're going to get Florida shoved straight up your virgin assholes. But yeah, the Wings get the win. And now the Wings are in a 3-way tie for the final playoff spot with the Capitals and the Penguins. So in terms of the tiebreakers, Wings have the head-to-head tiebreaker on the Penguins. They don't have it on the Capitals. So for the last 2 games of the season, which is the home-and-home against Montreal, well, effectively both games against Montreal are must-win. Like if Detroit needs to win, for Detroit to make the playoffs, they need to effectively win both games to get in. And they need the Capitals to lose to either the Bruins or the Flyers to end the season. Probably the Bruins is the best chance. But there is another option, because keep in mind, Capitals and the Penguins, they're also still competing with the Islanders for third in the Metro Division. And there is a scenario where the Wings and Capitals can both get in. For the Wings, for that scenario to happen, the other scenario is the Wings need to win out, they need the Capitals to win out, and they need the Islanders to lose out. Honestly, I think option A is the best scenario. I mean, the one thing the Wings can do right now is just beat Montreal, win both games, and then wait and see what happens with Washington. I believe if the Wings win out, then it doesn't matter what fucking Pittsburgh does. But if the Wings lose, then Pittsburgh matters. Because Pittsburgh got 2 games left, but if the Penguins lose to Nashville, though, the Penguins are out. But if the Wings lose out, the Wings will be mathematically eliminated. The Wings cannot lose either game to Montreal. Both games are must win if they want to get in the playoffs to get that 8th spot. So yeah, it comes down to Montreal, the home and home, Judgment Day. And I'll just say, and regardless of what happens, for all I know, the Wings are guaranteed a winning record no matter what. So yeah, they'll have a winning record this year for the first time since they last made the playoffs. I'll be honest, the winning record doesn't mean shit this year if you don't make the dance. No, like I said earlier, if the Wings miss the playoffs, then Derek Lalonde needs to be fired because the Wings were 10 points to good at the end of February with a 72% chance of making it and blew it. But the Wings got 2 more games left to ride the ship. All the Wings gotta do is beat Montreal and then possibly get some outside help. So yeah, the Wings, they still got a shot, but they gotta win both against Montreal, and they need some outside help to get in. Mainly the Wings need to beat Montreal, and then Wings fans either gotta be Bruins fans or Flyers fans to end this out. Honestly, who wants to see Washington or Pittsburgh in the playoffs this year? Because both teams don't have a fucking future. Washington is fucked the moment Ovechkin retires. And Pittsburgh is fucked the moment Crosby decides to hang it up. Seriously, who the fuck wants to see Washington or Pittsburgh in the playoffs? Because if either of those 2 teams make it in, they're gonna be an easy round 1 boot against either the Rangers or the Bruins. If the Wings make it in, they might win a playoff series. In terms of who I would want the Wings to face in the first round, I would honestly want Boston in the first round. Because the Wings match up better against Boston compared to New York. Because if the Wings make it in, they'll be facing an original 6 team in the first round. Or they might get Florida, if Florida wins out and gets the number 1 seed. But right now, at the moment, it's looking like it's either going to be Boston or the New York Rangers in the first round if the Wings make it in. But the Wings got to handle their business against Montreal first. And it doesn't matter if Montreal's eliminated and they're tanking for a draft spot. You think Montreal's going to pass up an opportunity to eliminate a division rival out of playoffs, let alone an original 6th rival? They won't pass the opportunity up. The Wings can't sleep on Montreal. The Wings just need to do their job, handle their business against Montreal, win both games, and what happens with Washington and Pittsburgh happens. Like I mentioned, Wings need to win, and they need outside help. But yeah, it comes down to the next Monday and Tuesday. It comes down to the last 2 games of the season. Can the Wings make it in, or will they turn off at the worst time again? Well, and the Wings, they'll get their own little recap video after Tuesday, if they make the playoffs or not. Honestly, I wouldn't be pissed if they missed it this year, because if they miss it, then that means we actually get some change for once. If not, then we get a shot at the playoffs. And hey, if you make the dance, you just got a chance. All you gotta do to have a chance at the cup is just make the dance. Because as we've seen before, anybody in the playoffs can get hot at the right time. But yeah, we gotta handle the business against Montreal. But anyway, no, that wraps it up here. And that's all I gotta say. Honestly, Raymond and Larkin and the Brinkcat finally showed up. Those, and along with Kane, all 4 of them are keeping the Wings season alive. the Wings gotta handle their business against Montreal. Very simple. Win both games, you're possibly in the playoffs. As long as Boston helps out. Anyway, though, I'm out.